People stress about lots of things, like food poisoning, space dust, normal dust, biking in the snow, meteors, blizzards, if their breath smells, the spelling of Juicy Lucy, mosquitoes, aliens, what else might come through the doggy door, and buying cars. CarMax can't help with aliens coming through the doggy door, but we can take stress out of car buying. We offer upfront, no-haggle prices on all our cars. And to keep you blissfully at ease, there's a 5-day money-back guarantee. That's the bright side of car buying. Now open in the Twin Cities.
BlogTalk Radio.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, friends and family alike. This is your host, Debbie Doolin, the host of The Only Way Out is In. Music that we play and sponsor and feature is music my husband and I have written under the name AKA Level 7. You can get our music on akalevel7.com or paytherand.com. My guest today is a young lady who's venturing on the path that she's been given, and we're very excited to have her here. Her name is Courtney Amundson, and she may need to correct that pronunciation. I didn't get the correct pronunciation. She's the author, a very young author, of Teachings from God, Greeting Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within. She started when she was a teenager, around 16, and she's now 20. Courtney is following in the footsteps, you could say, of Esther Hicks and Jane Roberts, Edgar Casey, the Sleeping Prophet, and J.Z. Knight as an extraordinarily powerful channeler. She's very wise beyond her years, and she's introducing to the world her book, Teachings from God, Greeting Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within, which is a loving, channeled, wisdom brought forth book to bring light to mankind's path in our challenging time. Her spiritual life began to awaken at the age of 12, and she started practicing Qigong and became aware that something was happening. She says, I started to experience more of myself. The meditations were so beautiful, I found that's all I wanted to do. I learned to move my own energy so that the channels in my body could remain open and flowing in a healthy way. And she experienced her third eye opening. So she desired to know more, and she committed to herself to explore this new path. And it's the same as committing yourself to God, to open yourself up to the universe every day, to new things. So as she was guided to sit and meditate, she immediately felt a natural and beautiful feeling, as if an angel were in her body, this pure golden light, and a voice began to speak to her. And that's when she began typing the words. So I'm going to invite and thank Courtney for being here with us this afternoon, and invite her to share more about her beautiful experiences, her book, and what she's gone through with it, and anything else that comes to her heart to share. Courtney, welcome.
Thanks so much for that beautiful introduction, and I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation, and I think that listeners are going to...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we have intended. Mm-hmm. Where are you living now, Courtney?
I'm in Minnesota, and that's where I grew up, and I think I'll always be here, even if I travel. I think I call this place. I love the seasons, and I love it here.
Very good, very good. All right. The messages that you've been led to share with others around the world, and like you said earlier in the show, I know it's going to be very beneficial if there are people listening today, or even if they come and listen to an archive of the show. They'll be helped tremendously. Mm-hmm. What have you I want to say, have you claimed what you hope for people to receive from the book, messages or teachings, or are you just allowing it to go forth like freely to do whatever it needs to do?
Well, I think it was both. I think the second part was my intention, and what came about from that was all I really ever hoped for, and I realized that this is my sole purpose. It's to help humanity to awaken to their fullest potential as human beings, and a big part of that is learning what it is to be human, what it means to be human, and you know, sometimes where we feel like we've gone off the path, or where we get confused and we feel lonely, and my book really helps to bring all of those things into perspective and help a human being, you know, wherever they are on their journey, to feel more connected to that higher source, or you know, to discover their true purpose and their true nature. And what I've discovered is we're all part of this source energy, and we're all collaborating in this big grand scheme. And so it's a beautiful journey to go on, and every single person has a different journey with this book, I have noticed. And that's what a lot of the testimonies have shown me, is that it's a personal journey, and it speaks to every single person in a different way. So that's the beautiful part about it.
Do you have, I haven't read your book, just information about it. Do you have, for example, I guess tips is the best word right now, or advice, you said. Do you offer advice on what people can do in order to get tuned in and to listen to the messages that are there for them? Or do you have exercises or, well, go ahead.
Well, I would say that I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that each and every person has a personal journey of awakening, and I think the difference between, you know, my book and another book maybe in this genre is my book is not just about reading the information and getting some knowledge from it. Though you do get a lot of knowledge from it, I think what is really the underlying intention, as, you know, from the perspective of spirit, delivering this book to us, what the intention is to really form a bond between the human being and the divine, and to cultivate that relationship so that we can feel always guided in our life and always purposeful and always, you know, with this connection, so that we don't feel alone and we don't feel abandoned. And we can help get guidance on everyday things, and it's not just, that's the other point that comes to mind right now, is it's not just about, you know, the high, you know, spiritual laws of the universe. It's not all about that. It's also, you know, very mundane human things, the way that we work, the way that we function as humans. And something that's very big is the emotions. And so it's a very loving, compassionate kind of energy in the book that really just makes you humble, and also gives you so much love for humanity, because there's so much love from that perspective of source energy. There's so much love and reverence for humanity, and it's so beautiful to read those words and realize, like, wow, there's no separation between God and humanity. It's one, and there's this co-creation between us. So I think, what I've realized is the desire to have that connection with the divine and to build that is what helps to awaken you. That's what starts the ball rolling, because there's free will on our planet. And so anything that we desire for, we have to ask for. And otherwise it can't be presented to us. The answers can't come naturally. So that's a way to protect our humanity is to have free will. So that's a big, big part of it. And I've found that in my own life, and what I help others with is, state what you want and remain open and listen. But remember that there's free will, because when you do that, that's when you start this journey and you start to learn how to listen deeper. And when I really started surrendering and putting my own motivations aside, that's when the answers, that's when these deep stuff started coming through. And so it's a testament to that, what the human being is really capable of, and the information that we really have when we let ourselves go. And we put everything else aside and say, please show me the way and tell me what I need to know, and then really listen. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I can give listeners is, really practice surrendering. And it's not in a way, and I want to make this part clear too, it's not like bowing down to your knees kind of surrendering. That's not the image that I'm trying to give. It's more like a partnership and saying, please allow my human veils to come down so I can receive guidance. And that's how I see it. It's a partnership between you and God, or you and the divine, or source energy, whatever word you use. And so you have to see it that way. We have to stop playing the game of, God is bigger than me and all of those type of ways of thinking. That's what opens the doors up. As far as certain practices, I think it's individual. I think whatever you feel drawn to is what your answer is. But listen to your own body and your own feeling about it. But for me, I wouldn't say there's any one thing, because everyone has a different path.
Yes. Someone who is who is just beginning to open up to the possibility of surrendering and what they're surrendering to, I'm sure they'll be guided. I know they'll be guided to just practice building their listening skills, because Spirit's voice is so soft and gentle, they might miss it over the ego's voice, which is very loud and squawky.
Right.
And so they might get a little off track or confused a little bit as to what they should be listening to or listening for or how to listen.
I think you know by the way it feels.
Yes.
You know by the way it feels when you sense it. For me, when I had my first conversations, and I knew what it was, because it was so loving, and I could feel that it was this energy that knew me so personally. And Spirit does know us so personally. That's what's amazing about it.
Yeah.
And when I let myself go and I started to just kind of accept that I don't know everything, then the answers started to come out more. But it did and it does for everyone. It takes time to let those conditionings go and to kind of allow yourself to not be the all-knowing human that, especially if you've really gotten some things beat in your head for a majority of your life. It's hard to let those things go and accept something that is new, but at the same time, the way it feels is what is the truth. I think that's your best discernment, is the way it feels.
Yes. Would you share like one of the messages that was very profound for you from the very beginning of your journey here?
Yeah. Well, I usually go into some meat of the book when I get this question, but I feel called to actually share more of a personal note for me, because it kind of also ties into what we've been talking about with cultivating your personal relationship to the divine. And that's really the foundation of all of this. My personal journey and also an important piece to this is that, the divine shows up in the way that is for you. So it doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter if you call it God or Jesus or Buddha or Lao Tzu or Mother Mary or the universe or the light. There's a million names for the same source, and I now know that all the same. For me, in the beginning of my journey, I was presented. I was actually presented with my great grandma came through. And she was the one that helped to explain to me where my life was going. And it was before these deep teachings started to really come through. It was more of a introduction. This was the first day. It was March 12th, 2012, when this communication started for me. And my great-grandmother came through, and also my grandma on my mom's side, who I'd never met before. She died. My mom was young. And they came through separately, and they explained to me in a way that I could understand, what this was. And I knew that it was real because of the way it felt. And so that was an example of something that I could understand. It was presented in a way that I could understand. And then when I kind of let go of my fear or judgment or whatever was there, that's when I started to really experience God in a pure state, and not what I wanted to see or what I wanted to expect. And then this amazing, broad, expansive, unconditional energy started coming through, and that's what I now call oneness. And I have no name for it. I have no need to say, this is Archangel whatever, so-and-so. There's no need to do that, because I experience such a broad perspective. I know that it's source energy, and it's the highest of love, and so I think the biggest, most profound teaching that came through in the beginning was something along the lines of, we are source energy, we love you unconditionally, and there was this metaphor of me being part of this big pot of soup, and there's a few different metaphors to explain oneness in my book. There's one about a pot of soup, and explaining how we are all a pot of soup.
Oh, okay.
And explaining how there's, there are many different flavors and textures in that pot of soup, but in the end, you don't sit there with your pot of soup and try to count the molecules of water. You don't do that. You just eat it all together, and you taste all the flavors together. And it made me laugh too because it was a funny metaphor, but it taught me what I needed to know. And I realized, yeah, that's exactly how it is. We're all part of this big pot of soup.
Yes.
And when we can sense different energies in that pot of soup, for instance, some people say, like Archangel Michael, we're picking out a distinct flavor, but we're all part of the same energy. And there's another analogy in the same way about a layered cake. And I just really, really appreciate those things because it keeps it very lighthearted and it keeps it to the point. And so I would say the most profound teachings have been the ones really describing the God source, God essence, and helping us to really make that connection, not just in our mind, but at a soul level, at an energetic level, to really start awakening ourselves and feeling more connected in our life. So that was a big piece, and I don't have a direct quote here right with me, but when for listeners, if you do pick up my book, you'll feel it. You'll feel it right away because it speaks to you. It speaks to you so personally, and that's what I keep emphasizing about all of this is that it's an alive book, and it's been said over and over again that, there's no time. And so the moment that I was channeling those words is also the same moment that you're reading them. And it's all happening in the now moment. And so it's almost like the book was written for you personally. And I think that's amazing and powerful, and there's so many good nuggets, but I think my favorite is specifically that chapter called God Is.
It's called what?
It's called God Is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine. I made a soup yesterday that I've never made before in my whole life, really, and I didn't use a recipe. I just went as Spirit was leading me. And so the nuggets were the different vegetables and the love that was put into it, so that even though there were different vegetables in the soup, you couldn't tell which ones they were. You couldn't tell by tasting the soup that this one vegetable stood out. And my husband just raved about it. My husband and my adult son just raved about how delicious it was. And it really was. It was not, and just like life, the energy of life that's supplied to us every day, you can't just pick out one thing, or maybe you can try, but the love stands out most of all of what the universe is giving us. So it was a blessing to be able to prepare it, and I don't know if I can do it again the same way, which probably wouldn't because I didn't write the recipe down. But there is a formula to making soup, and it's a formula of how the universe supplies us with the ingredients that we need to make our own soup, which is a soup of love and living life to its fullest and happiest. So I liked how you shared that information. That's good. I'd like people to know how they can order your book before we conclude the interview. And so any talks that you're going to be giving, or any workshops or any book sharings or book lectures, you can share that with people so they know how to reach you.
Right. Well, I actually am going to be doing an online book club for people that subscribe to my newsletter. And actually, I just recently opened it up to really anyone, so I forgot about that. But so that's going to be starting on the 28th, and I'm going to have 4 months of that. I'm going to be doing a YouTube live event, and it's going to be basically a discussion group to talk about the book and go through passages that people may have questions about. And my website is teachingsfromgod.com. And on there you can buy my book. There's this little store tab on there. And then I also have a bunch of social media links and other fun things to look at on there.
Okay. So if people from Twitter wanted to join in, they would just put Teachings from God, or would they put your name?
To join the book club?
Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. Yeah, that is
Facebook,
on my website as well. So all you have to do is go to teachingsfromgod.com.
Okay, good. Well, great. We have about 2 more minutes. Is there anything that you'd like to add for people to know about you or to know about your book? Anything you'd like to add that we didn't cover?
Sure. Well, I think what I really like to emphasize as part of my work and my mission is that everyone has their own divine spark, and everyone has a special purpose on earth, and not one person put themselves here for no reason. Not one person. Everyone has a soul purpose and a calling, and whether you're on it right now or not is irrelevant, because you have the power to awaken at any point that you desire. All you have to do is ask and listen and make that connection and knock on the door and you're on your way. So
yes, very good. Very good. Well, thank you again, my dear. If people have questions, they can go to teachingsfromgod.com, www, of course, and try to get on Courtney's subscriber list or mailing list, and you'll find more spiritual events and spiritual happenings that are coming up for her, so that when you join with her, it can be sparks going off for both of you and all of you. Thank you, Courtney, again for the interview, and I appreciate you, and I bless you for your continued work.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, we're going to end our interview with Forgotten Song by AKA Level 7. It was inspired by one of the chapters in A Course in Miracles. We've just been interviewing, talking with Courtney Amundson, and she's the author, a very young author. She's 20, and her book is entitled Teachings from God, Greeting Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within. Check it out, and you'll be blessed. Thank you again for being here today, this afternoon, and I'll be back with you next Thursday at 2 p.m. God bless you. Namaste.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Earlier this week, Claire Tippins shared a princess nickname generator, 3 pictures of her dog wearing a tutu, and 2 online quizzes, including, what candy is your dream castle made of? Claire, your sharing has tipped the sugar scale and turned into oversharing. But have no fear, princess. Geico has something worth sharing with your internet kingdom, like how you could save hundreds on your car insurance just by visiting geico.com. No magic wand required. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.